If you've been scrolling through a dozen CNC Reuters, watching endless comparison videos and still feel like you're stuck in a loop of, which one actually delivers for my workshop? This review is here to cut through the noise. I've spent the last week looking at the specs, digging into what makers on forums are actually doing, and even testing a few sample cuts on a demo unit. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, so you can see the exact model numbers and price while we walk through why it might or might not fit your shop. First off, let's talk about the problem most hobbyists face. You need a machine that can handle a decent work envelope, but you also don't want to spend a fortune on a full-size industrial router that will dominate your garage. The Genmitsu 4040 Pro Max tries to sit right in that sweet spot. It's marketed as a next-generation CNC router with a compact footprint, but its real value shows up once you start putting it through real projects. Think engraving a wooden sign for a coffee shop, cutting a PCB prototype, or even carving a small batch of custom jewelry. Those are the kinds of tasks that reveal whether a machine is just a pretty box or a genuinely useful tool. Who should consider this unit? If you're a maker who already owns a basic CNC or a laser cutter, and you're looking to expand into larger pieces, say, moving from 200mm x 200mm to around 400mm x 400mm, this router gives you that extra reach without demanding a dedicated concrete floor. The built-in 4th-axis rotary module is a nice addition for those who want to work on cylindrical objects, like turning a small wooden vase or machining a simple gear. The Planetary geared stepper motor on the Rotary adds torque, which means you won't be constantly fighting slippage when you tighten the chuck around a piece that's 150mm in diameter. On the flip side, if you're a beginner who has never touched a CNC before, the setup can feel a bit intimidating. The machine arrives as a kit. You have to assemble the frame, install the linear rails, and wire the controller. While the instructions are fairly clear, there's a learning curve that you'll need to budget time for. Also, if you're looking to run high-speed, high-precision metal cuts, the 4040 Pro's spindle power and rigidity won't match a dedicated metalworking router. In short, this is not a plug-and-play solution for absolute novices, and it's not a heavy-duty metal mill either. Now, let's break down the practical strengths that matter after you fire it up. The first thing I noticed was the work area. With a 404mm x 404mm bed, you can comfortably cut a 12-inch square panel in one go, which is a step up from many cheaper 300mm Reuters that force you to split large pieces. That extra space translates directly into fewer setup changes and less waste when you're working on a batch of parts for a small production run. The next-generation precision claim is backed up by the use of linear rails on all 3 axes. In everyday use, that means smoother motion, especially when you're doing long, straight cuts in hardwood. I ran a test cutting a 0.25-inch thick pine board, and the edges came out clean with minimal tear-out, which is something you'll appreciate if you're making furniture joinery or decorative panels. The system also supports a decent feed rate around 40mm per second, so you won't be stuck waiting forever on a single part. Power-wise, the spindle is a 400W brushless unit that runs at up to 24,000 revolutions per minute. For most wood, acrylic, and soft PCB routing, that is more than enough. The real advantage shows up when you pair it with the 4th axis. You can mount a workpiece on the rotary chuck, set a simple G-code rotation, and carve a cylindrical logo in a single pass. I tried this on a small wooden dowel that was 100mm long, and the finished product had a crisp, continuous groove that would have taken at least 3 separate passes on a standard 3-axis machine. One hidden trade-off is the rigidity of the frame. The machine is built from aluminum extrusions, which keeps it lightweight and easy to move, but it also means you'll feel a slight flex under heavy cutting loads, especially if you're pushing the spindle to its limit on dense hardwood. For most hobby projects that's acceptable, but if you're aiming for high-tolerance parts, think 0.1mm. On a metal component you'll probably want a more massive steel frame. Another practical concern is the controller software. The unit ships with a version of the open-source GRBL firmware and a companion UI that runs on Windows. The UI is functional, offering jog controls, feed rate adjustments, and real-time spindle speed monitoring. However, it lacks some of the polish you see on commercial CNC packages. There's no built-in simulation view, and you'll need to generate your G-code with a separate CAM package before loading it. If you already have a workflow that uses Fusion 360 or Lightburn, that's